Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. Here's another piece of apricot. Still green, probably still soft enough to turn nicely. Two choices: to turn it in one turning and let it dry later, or turn it halfway rough, let it dry and finish turning it later. I don't know what's best. I'll wait until I get into it and see how the wood's going.
The most dangerous time when wood turning a new project is when the rough blank is first mounted on the lathe. It is not round, nor is it balanced on the lathe, so it jumps around a bit. Keep speed slow until it is round, and always wear your full face shield. Goggles are not enough in my opinion. They would protect your eyes somewhat, but what about a hunk of wood hitting you in the mouth or the nose? For rough turning, I mostly use my bowl gouge for both the outside and the inside of the bowl. I used a skew to finish shaping the dovetail tenon on the bottom. I use this tenon to mount the bowl to my chuck to hollow the inside. When dry, apricot is very hard and dense, but when turning it while still green or wet, it is much softer and very easily turned. This bowl went so nicely that once I got it started, I just kept going. I turned it to its final dimensions and wall thicknesses, sanded it, and finished it. But then, because it will still shrink as it loses moisture, I put it in a paper bag to temper its environment until it's stabilized. Once the blank is round, the shavings can really fly, especially in the small bowl of about 6 inches diameter and just over 2 inches high when completed. I love to see the shavings fly. I turned the outside of the bowl to near its final shape. I didn't plan the shape in advance. The shape just emerged from the bowl as I turned it. Once the outside is roughed out, it's time to focus on hollowing the bowl. This is the fun part. I use a lot of bevel cutting and shear scraping plus whatever else seems to work. When hollowing the center, I usually start in from the rim with the gouge nearly vertical, carefully find the bevel, then follow the bevel into the center of the bowl. I rotate and swing the gouge as it makes the pass. It's hard to describe, and I'm still practicing to perfect this move. It is gratifying to see a steady stream of shavings fly out when making a hollowing pass. I could bore out some of the center with a forstner bit, but that takes about as much time as just proceeding to hollow it out with the gouge. The relative speed of the wood varies as you move in from the center, and I'm still learning how to compensate and adjust for the speed change. Sanding is more difficult with the wet wood. The sandpaper is more easily clogged. On this wood, I went through all the grits to 320 with dry sandpaper, then a little wet sanding with the walnut oil that I used to finish the bowl. That was with 400 grit. Once the inside was finished, I took an old jamb chuck, trimmed it just a little, and flipped this bowl around to mount it between the jamb chuck and the tailstock. I used a skew to add 2 small V-grooves to the foot. When all but finished, I reduced the nub to just a sliver. Once the foot was turned, sanded, and finished, it took just a little more work with the chisel to remove the nub at the tailstock. Then about 5 minutes at the drill press to sand the nub in the foot. The nub at the bottom seems to be the bowl's belly button. Voila! A small bowl turned from apricot while the wood was still green or wet.
Okay, I finished this bowl 2 or 3 weeks ago. Turned it while green or wet and in one pass, and sanded and finished it all at once. At that point I put it in a paper bag and so that it wouldn't dry too terribly fast. But I think it shows at this point the characteristic shrinkage pattern of a green turned bowl. You notice that the side here is noticeably lower than the tips here. But all wood shrinks perpendicular to the grain, and the grain went approximately like this through the pith. And then if you put on your three-dimensional hat, you can say, well, it shrank towards the core, or essentially more in this direction in general. some this way, and overall you get the little bit up and down on the rim and a little bit oval in shape, both in the top and the bottom. But I consider this normal and acceptable and even welcome on a green turned bowl. So be sure to subscribe. Also, while you're at it, like this video. Appreciate it. Thank you.